Hi guys, and today we'll be looking at this Bachmann A2 Peppercorn locomotive, and this is in apple green. It's been out for a few years, this locomotive, at least 10. I bought it several years ago from Burton Model Shop, paid about £75 for it, and it was brand new, so I'm told. Lovely runner, may I add. So this is just my opinion on this locomotive, so let us get into it and see what it's all about, shall we? As we start off at the front of the locomotive does have metal sprung buffers. The housing of the buffer beam is in red. We also have the buffer beams with some lining of white, but also in red with the number of the locomotive and also probably the class as well. We have a small tension lock coupling. We also have a separately applied hook and vacuum pipe as well. We also have some irons too. Moving up, we have some electrical lights as well as some lamp irons to put head codes on and stuff like that. We also have a step as well. We have a step at the smoke box door. We also have a separately applied dart as well, a handrail. We also have a lamp iron at the top and a light as well, and a chimney. And we have smoke deflectors that are separately applied as well. There's no shed code or anything on this locomotive. As we move on to the side of the locomotive, both sides of this locomotive are exactly the same, but I think this side possibly has a reverser buried just before the boiler and the chassis, but it's hard to tell. The wheel configuration of this loco is Pacific. It's a 2-4-6 locomotive designed by Arthur Peppercorn. We do have some lining on the cylinders in red and black and red again. We also have drain cocks picked out in a gold or a chrome colour. The rods and stuff are all metal. It is quite nice. The axles themselves are lined with white lining, but they're not covered up or anything. And the wheels themselves have a white wheel look to them. They are quite nice. And the rear bogie truck does not move. It's fixed and it just swivels inside. Moving on to the livery. The livery of this locomotive is BR Apple Green. And it also has a lining of white, black and white. I believe I've got that correct. We also have a banjo dome on top as well. We also have the nameplates on the splashes, which is Tudminster. If I said that wrong, I do apologise. We also have an air gap with a handrail for the crew. That is there just under the boiler and the smoke deflectors as well. The lining is everywhere, like I said, from the rear bogie to the smoke deflectors, the running board, it's all there. We also have some gold windows in the cab at the front. Does look nice. It could be a wood effect gold, I don't know, but it does look quite lovely actually. We also have a few washout plugs around at that area as well. And near the cab, we also have the number of the locomotive, which is 60528. I think it's a builder's plate and a route availability and a washout plug. The windows do have glazing and there is a door to stop the crew falling through. And some steps as well moulded onto the bogie. As we move on to the part most people look forward to in a review, and that is the cab area itself, to see how detailed it is. Bachmann have gone to a lot of trouble with this cab. There is no wood flooring by the looks of it, but we do have some seats for the driver and fireman, which is nice. There's some pipe work picked out as well. We also have glazing in the cab. We also have some dials and stuff like that. It's not too bad. We also have some doors, like I said, to stop the crew from falling out linear. One of them it has fell off, and I know where it is. We also see the old style Bachmann connector look to the tender. Speaking of the tender, as you see the brake rigging's been added. We do have some handles picked out on the tender. There is some coal in the scoop as well, and most of it is moulded, like cupboards and stuff, it is moulded, but it's there. It's not a bad cab detail and tender detail there actually. As we move on to the side of the tender, the side of the tender is in BR Apple Green, and it looks quite nice. There's hundreds of rivets on there, you can feel them when you touch the tender. We also have British Railways written on the tender, which I do like. It's the crossover point. It doesn't look too bad actually. We also have some lining as well, which is the white, black and white. We have some handrails at the front and the back of the tender. We also have steps front and back. And then as we get down to the actual box, all that, it is lined. Like most of the loco, it's lined and it looks fantastic. It's lined in a red, very nice. But they are moulded. It's not a shame or anything. It's just there, they are lined in red with black background. As we move on to the back of the tender, much like the front, there's quite a lot of detail here. We do have metal sprung buffers and they are painted black. The housing for the buffers are in red. The buffer beam itself is in red with some lining of white. We do have a separate applied hook and a vacuum pipe as well. We also have a small tension lock coupling to go with it. Moving up, we do have 3 lights with lamp irons on top so you can put the head codes and stuff. They are there. We also have some electrical wiring as well for the other lamp iron and lights. You can see that they're picked out in black, I believe. We also have 3 steps going up the side and a small handrail. Back of the tender is lined, again, in apple green with white and black lining in a square. Not all the way around, just in the centre-ish bit. Doesn't look too bad, and there's loads of rivets as well. As we do an aerial view on top of the tender, as you can tell, the tender does dip down inside where the water filler cap is. We also have a dome or curved bit as well. I think there's a few rivets there too. It's not too bad. We also have a coal load, which is removable, but it's plastic. I don't know how to remove it, probably if you use a pin. It's very hard. I'm not sure what's under there. And this looks like a slightly streamlined top as well, if I'm honest with you. Like I said, the coal load isn't too bad. You can also see them coloured red handles as well for the firemen. As we do an aerial view on top of the locomotive, we will start in the usual place, which is the cab roof. The cab roof is black. We also have some vents that are moulded. There's a lot of other things that are moulded as well. Moving across, we do have plastic safety valves and whistles, but the safety valves don't look too bad in my opinion. Moving on to livery, like I said before, it's apple green, BR apple green with white and black lining. Also see a banjo dome as well. Nicely done there by Bachmann. Also see a little circle thing near the chimney as well, which looks to be welded on during its construction at some point in its history if it was a real locomotive. Also see the smoke deflector with our separate applied and with sprung buffers as well. As we do an underneath look at this locomotive, the locomotive does weigh quite a bit. We do have drain cocks that were already applied, and which do get in the way of the bogie. All the wheels on the bogie is metal. Moving along, the brake rigging was already added as well. There's a couple of screws take off the base plate, which I think probably is hardwired in Bachmann. We also have pickups on all 6 driving wheels as well. Like I said, the pony truck underneath the cab is fixed, but it does swivel like so. When you go around corners, it swivels a bit. Sorry about my big fingers. Don't like it. I'd like to be separate like the old Hornby ones. I know that's not the way anymore. Only my preference. It's quite highly detailed under here actually. We do have some sanding gear and brake shoes as well. And finally, as we do an underneath look at the tender is very, very light. We do have the brake rigging that's already applied to the first wheel, and the other 3 brake rigging was moulded onto the outside of the tender. The connection between the loco and tender is a stump and a metal bar going across 2 holes. You have to pick which hole you want. If you go for the first one, it can do any curves basically, and then one nearest the cab is basically to make it a little bit more close connection. The stump and the thing going across, I don't like it because the stump's too short and it keeps coming out of the hole. So that's only my preference. We do have a water scoop on here as well. We also have a small tension lock coupling as well and sprung buffers at the end. The wheels themselves do pivot again. It's just how things are this day and age. But to do the job, my only issue is, like I said, the stump is too short. So yeah guys, that's it on the tracks. Next up will be the usual second radius and points test. I am intrigued to see if it will manage everything. Some Bachmann locos don't like my points or second radius for that matter. So here goes, let's see what it's all about, shall we? Lovely and smooth. On DC, what's that, 21? That is fantastic. So yeah guys, it managed the point and second radius pretty well. Actually I was quite impressed with the points, how slow it went. For Bachmann loco, quite impressed, saying it's a pretty old locomotive. Next it will be slow speed and a running section, and then I'll see you at the end. So here goes. Wow, look at that. Again, about the 20. That is fantastic. Sorry. So guys, that's the end of the review. Before I give my opinion on this locomotive, I'll show you what it ran with. You probably can guess. It was a Gresley full brake, and then some Hornby / Triang teaks. Thompson ones they are anyway. I thought why not, you know, it's a Peppercorn loco for 3 designers of the LNER that did Pacifics. So my opinion on this locomotive. This locomotive, for the money I paid, is well worth it in my opinion. Yes, I had to send it off to Bachmann a couple of years ago to get something fixed. One of the gears has snapped, but failing that, no issues. Come back with a slight problem, which was the front bogie wheels were squeezing too much and it wasn't riding on the track, as you may have seen in the inner loop circle, the second radius circle. The front wheels weren't quite there on the bogie. Fix that now to push them out a bit more. That's all. But like I said, I'd highly recommend this. It could do with a plug and stuff, but then that's going to cost, and the prices of locomotives are just going up and up and up. So yeah, but I can also see someone taking the tooling off Bachmann, if I'm honest with you. It's been a while since they've released any of these locomotives, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, I highly recommend these for anyone who's an LNER fan, a BR fan, or just likes British Steam or Pacific locomotives. So that's just my opinion. So anyway guys, I'll see you in the next video. Please take care.